So we've dealt with the ingest process. We're now going to look at the production process, actually adding creative value to your content as it goes through your facility. Obviously, this could be a very wide range of activities depending on what you're doing. I'll touch on some of the things that are maybe typical. We'll look at a production workflow a bit like this, where you do some preparation for your production and your producer, typically an office type person, a producer or a journalist or somebody, will select some of the material that they want to work with. And that will then create a shot list of material that you want to use in your craft edit job, where you will create effectively a new piece of content. That new piece of content then wants to get transferred back into your central repository system so it can then be managed downstream, but it also needs to be registered with your asset management system so it can pick it up and control it and manage its life. And we'll talk about some of the steps involved in that. So to kick that off, we're going to ask Srina to talk about some of those pre-production and planning steps and the shot selection. Srina.
Thank you, Granby. So I'm assuming two different workflows here. So the producer wants to create the highlights package, which is going to be broadcast later on this evening, but also he wants to be able to find shots that are going to be sent automatically to the mobile operator for immediate download onto everyone's telephone. The first thing that he wants to do is actually find his content, and I'm going to talk a bit more about how we, as a MAM environment, can help you find your content more easily. But for now, he's got to find that. So he'll go onto his web browser, log on to the MAM interface and perform a search based on certain criteria and find clips that he might be interested in using. Then he's going to actually want to filter and sort those clips. He may want to browse some of the segments within those clips. And he also may want to listen to the audio tracks at this time. And he can do some of that through the web browser. And he could also do some of that through more of an edit client. And we talked, Graham talked about different types of clients. So we have the remit of being able to either do it just in the web browser or have a thick client on your PC or your Macintosh, for that example. Then you might want to create a shot list, a rough cut edit decision list, and also preview that and share that EDL with other colleagues for approval. And then finally, in the two different workflows, if it was going to a highlights package, we may want to send that content into a Final Cut Pro environment or an Avid environment. Or alternatively, we may want to just take those clips and put them into an automated workflow, which may involve our colleagues at Grab creating new file formats in the background for us, and then automatically sending those through a delivery mechanism to the mobile operator for immediate download. So you wouldn't even in that instance have to go into a full-blown edit environment. So one of the things I said about we wanted to talk about is how do you find this content? Typically what you see is loads and loads and loads of metadata, and we've talked about how we get that metadata into the system. Some of it's automatic metadata, some of it's technical metadata, some of it's been manually added, some of it's been brought in. So there's loads of metadata. And there's also quite a lot of content, media content in there. So what I want to do is be able to find exactly the shot that I want that's going to be of value, that's going to make money for me, and find that quickly and put that through into my editing environment or, as I said, deliver it straight out to the mobile. So what we do is we take all that information and the criteria that we're looking for and we put it through a funnel. So in this case, I'm going to be looking for shots where David Beckham is playing in a match and he happens to get a red card, and actually the transcript or the commentator has actually said, "Oh, Beckham sees red." But I also want to find content that the Champions League have said that I'm allowed to use, so I have the rights to use that content. So these are my search criteria that I'm putting into my funnel. And I don't know if, yes, you can see it's highlighted. We've come to exactly the shot where those four criteria are reached. And that shot has been automatically generated. So it's not something that I've physically gone and cut myself as part of the ingest process. It's an automatic process. whereby I can go through the timeline metadata and actually immediately find that clip. Once I've found the clip that I want to use, as I said before, we may want to do some kind of rough cut editing within the MAM environment. So here you can see an example of what that user interface may look like. You can see the timeline along the bottom. You can play back your EDL. But this really is a rough cut environment. So in the next example, what I want to do is send that into my editing environment. And that's a simple operation. You click on the Send To button, and the MAM system will wrap up the metadata about the content, and also the metadata that's in the EDL, as well as reference to where the high-res content is, and send that through into the editing environment. And at this point, we then use our colleagues from Marquis with the Medway product to translate that into the editing environment. So back to you.
Thank you, Serena. Now, it may seem to you that in a live football match you're not going to be using many MAM search tools to be hunting your archive for shots. However, I've seen systems set up so that rather than having to hunt through and find shots when they occur, actually you've got them already laid out. You know who the players are going to be in that match, so you can set up those searches before you start. And then you can have all your archive material sitting there, ready to use at the drop of a hat. So you can make much use of any assets you've already got, because you've got all that metadata associated with it, and you've got it filtered right. So thinking about what you're going to be wanting a little bit ahead of time, things like the sports games, although they do need to go very, very fast, do have very predictable, structured metadata associated with them. So you can put together some quite sophisticated workflows to do pre-search on the material you're going to need. So that helps you make better use of that content you've got in your system.